president from our preschool elementary, UPK and All for Kids. I know you had a couple of words.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see some faces and to see a lot of folks participating. Can you give me 1 second, Coop? Pardon me, I might have a couple of interruptions because I'm remote schooling 3 rambunctious people. My son Tripp has been at Tiegerman since preschool and he is now in 5th grade. I can't believe it. We love it. I've been on the PTA since he was in preschool and I'm happy to help run things now. And this is going to be a really great and informative parent training. If you have any questions for me about parent stuff or family stuff, my information is in the school directory, right, Mrs. Katzman? I think my name and phone number are right there in the calendar and the school directory. So you could contact me anytime. Oddly enough, I don't have my phone and now I feel weird because I always have it like right here. It's attached to this hand. So you can contact me anytime if you have any questions about anything.
Thank you. I don't know if Mrs. Henny wanted to say anything. She's our wonderful principal from the high school. But if not, Mrs. Henny, okay, then it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Miss Austin, who's the Assistant Director of Adult Services at Tiegerman Community Services. And Miss Austin and I used to work together for many years, and it was one of the nicest things that I had about Tiegerman. And you're all going to get a lot of wonderful information from her. So if you have any questions, please use the chat, right, Miss Crowder? So thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to see you. And I hope you have a very good day, but enjoy Miss Austin's presentation.
Thank you, Mrs. Katzman.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much, Karen, for the introduction. Again, my name is Christine Austin. I've actually been with the agency for about 18 years. I started off in the elementary school, working with Mrs. Katzman, as administration over in the Glen Cove school, as a speech therapist and also as one of their autism consultants. Now I'm the assistant director of our adult services agency. Our agency is affiliated, obviously, a part of Tiegerman. We're considered Tiegerman Community Services. So not only do we provide services and offer services for adults, we provide services through the auspices of OPWDD. So I'm going to share my screen now, Jermaine. Okay, so I have, where did it go? Okay, what happened to it? Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay. So I've prepared a very short, but it is comprehensive PowerPoint all about OPWDD. So our OPWDD part of Tiegerman has been in existence for about 7 years. We started out providing what was formerly known as Medicaid Service Coordination. Now it is considered care management. We started out providing Medicaid Service Coordination. We have a respite program, which is a site-based respite that actually operates out of the Glen Cove Elementary School. We offer community habilitation services. We offer day habilitation services. We have 2 residences now, and we offer employment services. So some of those services are for adults and some of them are for children all the way up to adults. So I will get more specific about those services and what they are at the end of the PowerPoint presentation, because I think it's very important for all of you to know the process of what OPWDD is, how do I get it, how do I become eligible, what's involved. At any point, if you have any questions, please write your questions in the chat box. If you want to go live and ask a question that way, you can do so as well. And I'm always available. My information is actually at the end of the slide. So if you don't feel comfortable asking your questions on this venue, you can certainly reach out. Okay, so all about OPWDD, of course. So the topics for today. What is OPWDD? What is the DDSO? How do I determine eligibility? What is the eligibility process and how do I apply? What is the front door? What is care coordination, care manager? What supports and services are available through OPWDD? And then resources. So one thing that I'd like to say is OPWDD is very vested in their acronyms. So unfortunately, there are a lot of acronyms once you are in the OPWDD system, and I'll do my best to try and answer any questions if you have any questions, and to also explain them. Okay, so what is OPWDD? OPWDD stands for the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. It is the New York State office that provides funding and services for individuals with developmental disabilities. So prior to the OPWDD has had a number of name changes. So previously it was OMRDD, but now it's OPWDD. The New York State OPWDD provides access to services through a regional system, dividing the state into DDSOs, which we'll talk about later. OPWDD certifies and regulates more than 700 nonprofit providers who deliver direct care to individuals with developmental disabilities. So OPWDD governs us. We are a nonprofit provider. They call it a voluntary provider that provides services under the auspices of OPWDD. Okay, what is the DDSO? DDSO is an acronym for Developmental Disabilities Services Office. There are currently 13 DDSOs across the state, which enable people to connect with services that are locally provided. Contacting the DDSO is the first step toward receiving services. So I just want to, this is not on the slides, but I wanted to let you know that each borough that you live in has a DDSO. So if you're in Brooklyn, there's an office for Brooklyn, there's an office for Queens, there's an office for Manhattan, the Bronx, Staten Island, and Long Island, obviously. Long Island basically encompasses Nassau and Suffolk. Okay, but this is the first step toward receiving services. So one would ask, what do I do first? Contact your local DDSO. How do I determine eligibility? To receive services from OPWDD, your child must meet 4 requirements. 1, your child must have a diagnosis of one or more of the following: intellectual disability, autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, familial dysautonomia, or neurological impairments with injury, malformation, or disease in the central nervous system. So that's the first requirement, diagnosis. Second requirement, your child must have had this disability prior to age 22. So the documentation needs to be present prior to age 22. Number 3, the disability is expected to be permanent. Number 4, the disability must be so serious that it affects your child's ability to live everyday life independently. So those are the 4 requirements that OPWDD looks at. And in the next slides, we'll talk about the specific paperwork that will help you solidify this eligibility and the requirements. Okay. To apply for OPWDD, you will need the following 4 documents. 1 is the OPWDD eligibility form, which can be found on the OPWDD website. OPWDD likes to change their website monthly, daily, so the information is not readily found. If you need something specific, again, my telephone number and my email are at the end of this presentation. You can certainly give me a call, shoot me an email, and I can provide you with the direction of the paperwork that you need. But their website is www.opwdd.org. opwdd.ny.gov. That's their main website. The next document you will need is a psychological assessment that shows your child has one of the disabilities that we discussed in the previous slide. This evaluation must be less than 3 years old. That is key and critical, because if it's a smidge over 3 years old, they will not accept the application, and they will send it back to you, and you'll have to do the whole process over. So the evaluation, the psychological assessment should include adaptive behavior scales, for example, the Vineland or the ABAS. Should include IQ testing, such as the WISC, the WIAS, or the Stanford Binet. And generally, these psychological assessments are done either through the district, at the schools, or if your child is not up for assessment, there are private agencies that do these evaluations at little or no cost. And the next documentation is a written summary explaining the results from the administrator of the test. So the psychological assessment has to include all of these components in order for it to be accepted by OPWDD. Okay. Number 3, you need a social history or a psychosocial. This may be included in the psychological report that we spoke about before, or completed with your child's evaluations as part of the IEP process. It's different with each district, and it must be less than 1 year old. Again, if it's anything over 1 year, they will not accept it. And the last document that you need is a medical report. It must be less than 1 year old, and if your child has a diagnosis besides intellectual disability. OPWDD may ask for additional documentation or evaluation, such as the IEP, but it's not necessary to send the IEP with this eligibility requirement. Okay. Once you've received all the documents necessary for the eligibility process, you will need to mail them directly to your DDRO, or Developmental Disability Regional Office, for your borough. So again, depending on the borough that you reside in, all this information is on their website. You can Google DDRO for Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Long Island, Manhattan, Staten Island, and the address will come up. After OPWDD reviews the documents that you submitted, they will mail you a letter within 2 to 4 weeks. However, since the onset of COVID-19, the process is taking much, much longer. So there are major delays in every area of OPWDD. So those 2 to 4 weeks could be 2 to 4 months, depending on the backlog of the office. Always follow up with the DDRO to check the status of your paperwork. Don't assume that they have it. It's a very large organization, and I find from speaking with parents and also following up myself that follow-up is definitely necessary. Okay. So after the review, you will receive an eligibility letter. Once you receive the eligibility letter determining your child's eligibility to receive OPWDD services, you will then attend a front door information session. I do want to say that there are 2 eligibility approvals. There is, just give me 1 second. There is a conditional approval, which is typically provided to children ages 8 and under. That conditional approval is not permanent. It is issued based on the fact that sometimes a child does not have a diagnosis. They're diagnosed with a preschooler, for example, with a disability. So because it's not an intellectual disability or an autism diagnosis, OPWDD will permit services to be available to your child, but it's on a conditional basis. So what that means is that it is conditional and that you will have to reapply, so it does expire. And so there's a conditional and a permanent eligibility letter. Once you receive the eligibility letter, you will need to attend a front door information session. This session is mandatory and is required as part of the eligibility process. The front door sessions are approximately 2 hours long. They used to be in person, but due to COVID, they are now through Zoom or through a webinar session. You can attend a session in any borough, even if you do not reside in that borough. I think that that's a great opening for OPWDD, as you know, sometimes we work on Long Island, but we live in the city, so it might be easy for us to get to an appointment or to access this information in another borough. During the parent training sessions, you will be shown videos. You will have the opportunity to ask questions and receive assistance with completing the eligibility paperwork. So that's why it's mandatory, because everyone has questions. Unfortunately, the paperwork process is very cumbersome. There are a lot of questions, there's a lot of information, and sometimes the wording is not clear. So it is best to ask these questions at these information sessions. You can attend a front door session at any time during this process, but it's most helpful after you receive your eligibility letter. Just so if you have questions about that, it can be answered during that time as well. Okay. So after you receive your eligibility letter for your child, you will then contact a care coordination agency. As soon as you receive your eligibility letter, you should begin to look for a care coordinator. So a care coordinator is what we previously referred to as an MSC, or Medicaid Service Coordinator. They can assist you with completing the OPWDD application process, and they are to help connect you with the appropriate services that you're seeking for your child. In New York City, there are 3 care coordination organizations, or CCOs, as we call them. There's the acronyms again. They are Advanced Care Alliance, or ACA. There's Care Design and Tri-County Care. You can Google all of these agencies for their information, for the contact numbers. They all have main numbers, and you would be referring to the intake department. If you sign up with a CCO prior to the 10th of the month, you can begin services that month. However, if you sign up after the 10th of the month, you will receive services the following month. After you select a CCO and a care manager, you will complete the DDP2 phone interview. So all of these processes are going on at the same time. The only thing that's pretty much concrete is your submission of your eligibility form. So you could, at any point in time, receive your care manager or receive the DDP2 phone interview. One does not have to come before the other, and sometimes it doesn't. A DDP2 stands for a Developmental Disabilities Profile. Basically what this is, it's a very cumbersome document that asks a lot of questions in regards to daily living skills, in regards to communication, in regards to behavior, in regards to specific information regarding your child's abilities and disabilities. So someone from OPWDD will call you to complete this profile, and it can take it up to an hour to complete. I think it takes actually more than that because it is a very cumbersome document. This document determines what level your child will be placed at in OPWDD system to be able to access services. Once this document is completed, it's actually scored electronically, and a number is provided. It's called an ISPM score, and that score is attached to your child. This is done every 2 years because things change. And the profile is a series of questions that you'll be asked of your child's ability to complete a variety of tasks. So in this document, you are able to say they're likely to do this activity, they're somewhat likely, they need a little assistance, they need full assistance, or they're independent. The most important thing to note about this document is to only mark independent if your child is able to complete the tasks on their own without support and without you reminding them. Because what will happen is that the scores will be skewed on the developmental disabilities profile, and because maybe your child is able to do the task, but you're prompting them, that's not independent. You'll receive a positive score for that, or your child will receive a positive score for that. And then what happens is that they may not qualify for all of the supports that that you're looking for. Waiver services. So waiver services provide services and supports to children and adults with long-term needs and their families to enable them to remain at home and in the community. These are the services that can only be accessed through OPWDD, and it is basically called the HCBS waiver services, home and community-based waiver services. These services are entitled waiver services because they are paid through Medicaid, which your child will need to have to access these services. OPWDD offers two types of services. They offer waiver services and they offer non-waiver services. The non-waiver services are referred to as family support services. These are paid for under a grant that is provided to OPWDD. The other services, waiver services, are paid through the state, through Medicaid funding. Waiver services allow Medicaid to pay for some services not provided through regular Medicaid, such as case management, respite, and home adaptation. Under the HCBS waivers, parental income and assets are not considered when determining the child's eligibility for Medicaid. Only the child's income and assets are counted. So there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of feedback in regards to this issue, which is strictly Medicaid, which we can go on and on. What I'm finding is every family has a different outcome and a different situation. Medicaid is necessary in order to receive the waiver services. So if you're looking for in-home respite services, most site-based after-school programs, site-based respite programs, community habilitation, any type of vacation respite or camp services, those services require waiver, which will require you to have Medicaid. So going back to what I said about different experiences, I should say, when you fill out the Medicaid application, you obviously have to list everyone in your household. So your income, your husband, your partner's income is listed on that. Above a certain income, Medicaid will deny. So what happens is that Medicaid, you submit the Medicaid application, it gets denied if you're over the threshold. You will receive a letter from Medicaid. That letter then needs to be turned into OPWDD, and OPWDD then issues you what's called a parental deeming letter. That letter then gets sent back to Medicaid, and that supports the fact that OPWDD has deemed your son or daughter eligible to receive services, so they're considered a child who is determined to have a disability, and that paper lets Medicaid know that they can move forward with your application. I know, again, different families have had different experiences. So at the end, if you'd like to ask any questions or share some of your experiences, I find that that is the most difficult part that parents have in working with the parents here at the agency, and just knowing what supports and resources are available to families, and what they need. So there is an actual OPWDD on their website has a services directory guide. That directory guide actually lists all of the services that are available, and it indicates whether they're grant funded or waiver funded. So whether you need Medicaid or you do not need Medicaid. And again, we're here. I know that there's transitional coordinators in the middle and high school that are also available if you have any questions. We do this every day here, so please, if you have any questions, obviously my number and my email will be available to you. So moving on, okay, next slide. So some of the supports or the programs that are funded through or offered through OPWDD are community habilitation. Community habilitation is a service that's designed to promote independence and community integration by offering skills training and other habilitative supports which take place in non-certified everyday community settings. So basically, this is a service that is available to your child. We have children as young as age 5 that are receiving this service. It is done after school on the weekends. It is done when your child is off from school. And it is completely designed to integrate or expose your child to the community. You do not have to be present for this service. It does have to be out in the community, so this is not a home-based service entirely. So the community habilitation worker comes to your house, helps your child get ready. That can include a whole variety of things: washing their hands, doing ADL skills, and then they go out into the community, which could be they go to the store, they go to the park, they're taken to a dance lesson or a swimming lesson or a therapy session. The service is meant to be utilized in the community. Community habilitation workers can be, depending on the access to workers, we have individuals that, as long as the family member or friend does not reside with your child, it can be an aunt or an uncle, a brother or sister, again, not living in the home, a very close friend. And we have several students that are receiving this service with family friends, with cousins, and they're being paid for the service. Community habilitation, depending on the need of your child, you can receive anywhere from 1 to 24 hours per week. Day habilitation is a service that provides assistance to acquire, retain, or improve the skills needed to perform daily activities away from the home. These activities might include purchasing goods and services, communicating with others, or traveling. So day habilitation happens after graduation of high school. Young adults are eligible to receive day habilitation once they turn 18, and they're out of high school. So this is a day services program. Our program, I can tell you a little bit about. We provide day habilitation services in 2 forms. There is a site-based day habilitation program and what they call a PWW, or a program without walls. So it's a community-based day habilitation program. The community-based program provides door-to-door transportation. It is a 4.5-hour program, which does not include transportation. So the transportation to and from adds to the hours of the program. The program is in the community. However, now, due to COVID, we are being very careful. So we've actually acquired space at a Knights of Columbus, where our individuals are picked up from their homes. Some of our individuals live in residential homes as well, and they're taken to the Knights of Columbus, and they are engaging in social skills activities, language-based activities, and activities of daily living, and also recreational activities. Some of our individuals, depending on their interests, some of them are doing academics. So they're working on their money skills, they're working on their reading skills, their writing skills, mathematics. It depends on the individual. We are person-centered in the delivery of our services. So the program is designed basically so that the individuals in the program have the opportunity to choose what they want to do. The site-based program is basically a site-based day hab program. We have a site that's located in Westbury right now, and we also have a site that's located in Richmond Hill, Queens. So the difference between the site-based and the community-based program is that a majority of their day, the individual's day, is spent at the site, but they do have opportunities to go out. And again, with COVID, we're being super, super careful of, our interactions with the community until obviously things settle down. Okay, supportive employment. This is a service that provides competitive work in integrated settings. So this service is available to individuals 18 and over, and supported employment is a job coach. We provide assistance to persons who are supported under OPWDD, who currently have jobs, who are looking for jobs, who want exposure to the work world. OPWDD has 3 definitive programs in employment. They have supported employment, which is a job coach. They have ATP, which is the extended training program, which allows individuals to actually work on site and be paid through the state. And then there's Pathways to Employment. So Pathways to Employment is typically our starting stone of just accessing what types of jobs are available, assessing individual skills, and so on and so forth. But the goal is obviously employment. One of the supports that we have also that I did not list on here is we are a provider to be able to provide access VR services as well. And again, this is all more so in the high school. Respite, which is blanket from preschool all the way through adults. It's a service that provides short-term substitute services on behalf of a primary caregiver who is either a family member, a legal guardian, an advocate, or a family care provider. It is a means of providing services when the person normally providing care is absent or in need of relief. So again, Tiegerman Community Services does not provide in-home respite, but there are tons of agencies that do, and we can certainly direct you in that direction. But we do provide a site-based respite program. Right now, our site-based program is for students ages 11 and up. It's located in Glen Cove. It operates every other Saturday from 10 to 3. And it is truly a socialization event. We have our staff is basically the teachers and teaching assistants from the schools. They provide oversight, and the activities are socialization, support, communication. They do activities. We have outside activities that come in pre-COVID, but we're trying to work with COVID right now to see that we have access to some activities via Zoom as well. Adaptive devices, aids, controls, appliances, or necessary supplies of either a communication or adaptive type, which are necessary to enable the person to increase his or her ability to live at home with independence and safety. So some examples of adaptive devices are, and this would all be covered under OPWDD eligibility: personal emergency response systems, communicators, speech amplifiers, standing boards or frames, and motorized wheelchairs. Environmental modifications is another area. These are changes or additions to the home environment necessary to ensure the health, welfare, and safety of the individual with developmental disabilities. So some of these examples are ramps, lifts, hand railings, roll-in showers, water faucet controls, and cabinetry. Some others that are covered could be if your child is leaving the home unannounced, certain security systems such as chimes, or they have magnetic locks that can be placed on the door. They're basically security systems that can be placed on the doors or the windows that would be covered under environmental modification. I have heard experiences where fences, gates with locks to ensure that a child does not leave without telling a parent. Those have been covered as well. And intensive behavioral support, or IBS, is designed for people who live at home who present with substantial challenging behaviors that put someone at imminent risk of placement into a more restrictive living environment. So behavioral support, so parents who have children who have challenging behaviors, who do not wish to have their child live in a group home, and want to care for their child at home but need more support, that is covered through OPWDD. And this includes functional behavior assessments, behavior plans, and this is all for the home. Other supports available are physical therapy, occupational therapy, after-school programs and day camps, reimbursement for clothing, nursing, social skills training, family training, and education. One of the important things that I do want to say is that when you are eligible to receive OPWDD services, there is something that you're eligible to receive depending on the need of your child. It's a grant that is provided to families. It's a yearly grant, and the maximum is $1,000. And that $1,000 is to help with these type of things. Reimbursement for any special clothing, any type of special bedding, any type of social skills training, things like that. That grant can be used for that. So now, I think I have 14 questions in there, but here's my information. So this is my cell phone number, and that's the best way to reach me, 516-353-8744. And I can also be reached via email at caustin@tiegerman.org. You can also text me at that number as well. So I'm going to go into the chat and take a look. Okay, so the first question is, when we move to a different county, do we need to apply for OPWDD again in the new county? So if you are already established with OPWDD in Queens, basically it's a change of county. That's really what it is. So you do have to inform your care manager. Your care manager is your lifeline. They are supposed to do all of the legwork for you. They are the links, so to speak, to the resources and the services that you have access to. So they should be able to answer your questions. They are the individuals that would submit the documentation through an avenue called Choices. It's an online computer system that agencies and OPWDD share access to, and that's how we communicate. So yes, you do have to You don't have to apply for it again, but you just have to change, you have to put in for a change of county. Can people in Queens go to day hab in Nassau? Unfortunately not. So the day habilitation services are, if you live in Queens, you have to attend the programs in Queens. If you live in Nassau and Suffolk, you have to attend the programs in Nassau and Suffolk. Are these services available to current students or a different program? So the services are, I'm not quite sure. I think what you mean, so anyone is available to receive these services. Students who attend Tiegerman, who attend any programs in New York. So basically the eligibility process is what you would follow. So you would send your eligibility documentation into OPWDD, and yes, everybody is able to access these services. So let's see. Agencies on Long Island. So there are several agencies on Long Island. What I can do is I can forward a list of agencies in Nassau County for, now are you talking about care coordination or are we talking about services? So I believe that was Mrs. Henney that asked that question. So Mrs. Henney, if you're talking about care coordination, the main number, which I can provide you with, that is for the ACA, for Tri-County, and for Care Design. They service, depending on where you live, they have different sectors of their care coordinators that will be able to help you. Okay, let's see, what's next? Let's see, when I move this arrow down, it goes all the way down. Okay, that's better. Can this PowerPoint slide be emailed to us? Okay, Jamae says we'll make the PowerPoint and this presentation available at Tiegerman.org. Should we expect a very long delay in this process? Yes. We're hearing from, because we don't do the actual submissions, we assist as best as we can with the care coordinators, they and the families obviously in the initial process. It could be 4 to 6 months. For community habilitations, parents do not need to be with the kid when the kid. Right. So with community habilitation, you don't need to be present. And the individual, now obviously this is all specific. You can be with the community habilitation worker if you want. The community, I've had students that we call them ComHab workers. The ComHab workers are, they assist the parent with the child while the parent is in the community. So going food shopping, going grocery shopping, going to the dentist's office, whatever you need, that is the expectation community-wise. But yes, they can be by themselves. They can be in a person's vehicle. So the ComHab worker transports your son or daughter to a lesson or a therapy session, or they go to the mall or they go to the park, but you do not have to be there. Do you have resources that are available especially? So the resources for younger children, I'm going to share the grant list with Jamae so she can post it on the website, and that breaks down the programs that OPWDD offers, and it breaks it down by programs, and then it breaks it down by the agencies that provide the services. So for instance, respite. So in-home respite, it's a whole list of providers, and it is very descriptive and detailed as far as the ages, what are the requirements, and if it's covered by waiver or not. So we can certainly do that. Okay. The adaptive services. Okay, so you're talking about the probably the OT and the PT. Are they available through Tiegerman? So the occupational therapy and the physical therapy that's available through OPWDD is strictly through Medicaid. So there is a list of Medicaid providers that provide that service. Case manager. So someone asked about if you had an eligibility letter, can you get it again? Call OPWDD, depending on your, if you want to message me after, Mrs. Lynn, if you want to message me after this presentation, I can give you the contact number for the front door for your region. And this way they should be able to, they can pull up everything in their system. But you would go directly to OPWDD for that. Yes, I can provide you with a list of the DDSOs. Absolutely. I can scan that over to Jemay, and she can also place that on the website. And I believe that the recording is going, this is taped, so the recording may be available. Or the recording will be available, sorry. To reapply, we'll need to go through the whole process again. So if you had OPWDD in the past, so once you make connection with OPWDD, your child receives what's referred to as a TABS number, TABS. So that number is basically your child's assigned number in OPWDD. So you never lose a TABS number. So OPWDD should be able to pull up your child's history, and you should be able to move forward from that. If it's a situation where they had the limited, the conditional eligibility, you would need to reapply for the permanent eligibility. So you would need to go through the whole process again. How often are the services used per week, or is it something coordinated with the person? So, Ms. Jones, I'm not sure what you mean by how often are the services used per week. If it's community habilitation that you're referring to, again, OPWDD approves it based upon the needs of your child. So we have individuals that are receiving 10 hours a week of community habilitation services. They are used at your discretion, but they have to be used after school. Again, if the child is on school vacation, they can be used during the day. They can be used at any time during the weekend, day or night. It's based upon your availability, your child's availability, and what you're using the services for. Do I provide assistance? I can certainly, Ms. Davey, I can certainly provide assistance to you with the provisional approaching the renewal. So that would be something, if you contact me personally, we can work on that together. Social services still available during COVID-19. So from my understanding is that all of the services that are available, the socialization services, I believe, through OPWDD are offered through this type of a platform, which is the Zoom. The only services that are in person right now are community rehabilitation. The rest of the programs are still running, both the site-based and home and community-based. Some of the rest of the programs are offering the Zoom option. But I believe that the services are being run through Zoom. That would probably be an agency specific. Again, once I forward the grant list to Jemay, you'll be able to actually look under socialization groups, and the agencies that provide them are listed there, and you could certainly give them a call. So, Ms. Jones, I know you said you missed the first 10 minutes. This is recorded, so it will be available on the website, because the process is a very detailed process. to go over. So if you have any questions after listening to this training again, you can certainly either email me or give me a call. What do I need to call? Mrs. Guerrero, it would be your local DDRO. So depending on what region you live in, that would be the number. Again, if you contact me directly, I can give you the number. And I think I got all of them. Does anyone have any other questions? And again, if you don't feel comfortable asking questions and it's more specific to your child, or maybe something we didn't discuss here, please reach out to us. We have lots of resources here, and we, connections obviously within OPWDD to the services that you might need. And I think that's it.
All right, well, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for your time. And thank you to the PTFA to help to facilitate wonderful meetings like this. Ms. Austin, as she mentioned, is a very great resource. So if you need to reach out to her, she is definitely open to that. So if there's no other questions, this video will be available. We're going to post it on the Tiegerman website, tiegerman.org/TCS. There might be a backslash at the end of that. I'm trying to get that removed. But for now, Rana, would you like to say anything just to close us out?
Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you so much, Christine. Christine is so patient and kind. I've been on the phone with her asking every question under the sun before, so I can attest to the fact that she is amazing. She's there for all of us, a wonderful resource. Thank you so much, Christine.
Oh, my pleasure.
And thank you everyone for attending. If you have any questions, oh, and just a quick, everyone should have received notice of a PTFA virtual get-together that we are hosting. Patty, are you still on here?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Patty, do you want to speak quickly about the virtual get-together?
It's just a platform that Rana and Dot and I discussed over the summer, trying to figure out a way for us all to just kind of get together and talk about what we're going through, just being the parent of a special needs child, or during COVID, or during virtual remote learning, just all the different things that we're dealing with. We don't get to see each other anymore, and we just thought it might be a great way for us to get together and vent and chat, and it's just a nice, easygoing opportunity to talk to other parents who are going through the same as you are.
Yes, and given that we're not so active for the PTFA currently, other than the crisis fund, which is always open to receive donations. What is it, honey? Sorry. Since we're not so active, we don't really have agendas to discuss, but we miss everyone. We want to stay in touch with everyone and remain a resource. So please join us for those get-togethers. If you haven't received the information, Jamay, if you could help us post it on the website, that'd be great. So it would be found under the PTFA tabs on the website.
Yes, and that's tiegerman.org/PTFA.
Sorry, children. So thank everyone again for coming. Lots of information on the website, and we're working on constantly updating so that it's a great resource for everyone, and reach out if you have any questions.
And a last message from me, I am the development director here at Tiegerman. I'm really excited to let you guys all know we are planning a virtual gathering as well. It's going to be our virtual gala. As you know, last year was very difficult, and we all scrambled and we wound up not doing any kind of event, but we are going to be highlighting some amazing individuals during our gala. And more information will be out shortly, but save the date. It will be March 25th, I believe is the date. So more information will be coming out about that. And of course, if you need to reach anyone at Tiegerman, you can always email social@tiegerman.org as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Great, thank you.